Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name's Tanya, and I haven't shared this recipe with you before, so this is not about making flour tortillas, although that's our first step. We're going to be making some white chicken enchiladas. And when I say white, I just mean there's no red enchilada sauce on it. I have some chopped up organic green onions left over from a function that I catered the other night, and there's just enough to where I think, well, they don't really freeze that well, and I don't have a freeze dryer, so all that being said, I need to find something to use them for because I am not a waster of anything. So we're going to make these enchiladas because it's one of my favorite things that has green onions in it, other than baked potato soup, which is what we served the other night. So anyway, we're going to get started on this. In this bowl, I have my mixture of flour, baking powder, and salt. I will put the recipe in the description. So again, this is not about making flour tortillas. This is about making the enchiladas itself. I have hot water going here. That's why I'm not telling you what the measurements are. If you want the recipe, you can look at the recipe in the description, but we will also link a video that shows more about making flour tortillas. This is my olive oil. I'm pouring this in there. The water is super hot. We're just going to stir this up. This flour has to relax quite a bit, so I have to run somewhere and do something real quick. I have to run an errand, and then when I come back, my flour will be cooled off. We'll make the tortillas, and then what I want to share with you is the recipe for the ingredients that go inside. These are super creamy. Just a fan of really everybody's that tries them. I've had a couple of recipes for chicken enchiladas before, and this is the one that I keep going back to over and over again just because it's so simple. You can change it up really with whatever kind of cheese you prefer, but there's certain kind of cheeses that I think do better in this. And I had a package of chicken thighs that I put in a small crock pot last night before I went to bed, added enough water to it to cover it, added a little bit of salt to it, and I cooked them slow all night long. And so they are probably kind of falling apart-ish. That's the technical stage to those, is falling apart-ish. So when I stir them up, they'll probably fall into shreds, which is perfect for these enchiladas. So we'll be back in just a bit, and I'll have my tortillas made, and we'll put all our enchiladas together, and I want to share that with you. So stick with us. Okay, so in my saucepan here, I have 1/4 of a cup of butter. It's on its way to getting melted. Turn that burner on about medium. Just got finished making my tortillas, and I've set them aside. I put them, as I made them, I put them on a clean kitchen towel that doesn't have any lint in it. It's lint free. Put the tortillas on it, and then I'd put another layer of towel over it. So each time I'd add a tortilla to it, it would just build up that steam in there, so they're super soft, which is what you want in this case. Now, you're welcome to buy store-bought tortillas. Just know that most of your store-bought tortillas will have either bleached flour, made with bleached flour, which bleaching agent in it's carcinogen. That's why I don't use bleached flour, or it will have several preservatives in it, something that I'm just not crazy about. So with mine, I have, let me look at this list so I won't misrepresent it. I have unbleached organic flour, baking powder, salt, organic olive oil, and hot water. That's it. And they are super simple to make, and if you have kids or older people who would enjoy just being helpful in the kitchen, that is something great to give them to do. Now, I used to make a total mess by putting flour on the countertop thinking it would stick if I didn't use it, but I have found in lots of tortilla making that you don't need the flour on the countertop, so it works out perfectly. All I do is just clean the countertop with vinegar once I'm done. It really doesn't make that big of a mess, not as much as I used to anyway. Okay, to our 1/4 cup of butter, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of flour. And of course my light is right in front of my cabinet with my measuring cups in it, so I'll just eyeball it. The more flour you use, the thicker this is going to be. So we try to get about as much flour as we do butter in our pan. That makes it usually the right consistency. It's just like making gravy. So we're going to make a roux out of this butter and flour. Turn my burner on just a little bit higher because I'd like to be able to cook the flour taste out of the flour, if that makes any sense to you. So this is what we're looking at. I know that's kind of a glare, so I apologize for that, but it's just butter and flour. I guess I could do this. Maybe you can see it better. And one of my doggies, Zoe, is out in the sunroom, and she's got this little woof, woof that she keeps doing. I don't know what she's doing unless she sees a squirrel out in the backyard. We have so many squirrels. It's unstinking believable. They'd pick the bricks off the house and take them away if they could. I'm telling you, they make such a mess out there, but they're too cute to hate, so just kind of ignore them. All right, once that heats up, we'll add something else to it. But right now I'm going to open my can of green chilies. This is just a regular, well, let me turn around where you can see the name of it. That helps. 4-ounce can of diced green chilies. You can get whole ones and dice them yourself if you'd like. I have at least 2 recipes for creamy chicken enchiladas. One of them is called sour cream chicken enchiladas. This is called creamy chicken enchiladas, even though it has sour cream in it. But they're really different recipes. It's funny how the different tastes of basically the sauce that goes in it, which is what we're making now, it really makes a difference. And I think this is actually probably my favorite chicken enchilada recipe. So we're excited about having it probably tomorrow. So I'll prep this. I'll put everything together today. Today is Saturday. Tomorrow we might or might not have lunch guests. I don't know. I hadn't invited anybody yet. But I will show you the finished product if I remember it once we take it out of the oven tomorrow. All right, I have just a little over 2 cups of chicken bone broth in this. This is homemade chicken bone broth, but you can use chicken stock, chicken broth, whatever you have on hand. I prefer to make my own because I know it doesn't have any preservatives or artificial junk in it, monosodium glutamate, anything like that in it. Anything that could cause issues. All right, we're going to whisk this, and this should thicken up just a bit. We're going to be adding a cup of sour cream. So I'm going to measure this out. I need to get this out with the spatula as well, but I'd rather get the sour cream out first. Then it doesn't matter if I get sour cream in that because it's going in that anyway, but it does matter if I get green chilies in this because not all this is being used in this. Okay, this is what we want this looking more like. When it gets thick, you'll know it's getting thick enough when you stir it and you see the swirl going around, but then it stops and pulls back. And I don't know if you can see that well on camera, but it's bubbling in the middle. Of course, that's going to tell you the thickness of it too. But it's not going to get super thick like frosting or anything like that. It's just going to get a thicker consistency so it'll cling to the outside of your casserole when you're cooking it. All right, so I'm going to turn this off now and scoot this back. Take it off the burner, and I'm going to add the green chilies to it. And this is going to be our sauce to go on top of the enchiladas once we get them rolled up with our other ingredients. This is just our gravy that'll go on the top. I think I'm going to wait just a bit to put the sour cream in. I'm going to let this cool off to where it won't curdle once I put it in there, but that'll give us time to get our enchiladas together. So let's go over and get that done. Okay, back over here at the island, I have all my other stuff ready. I have 8 ounces of Monterey Jack cheese, and I have 4 ounces of pepper jack cheese. I normally put about 12 ounces of Monterey Jack, but I only had 8 ounces of that, so I grabbed the pepper jack, and that'll be fine. It'll add a little bit of jalapeno flavor to it, but not to where it's so spicy nobody can eat it. I want to be as comprehensive about this as I can, so I know it looks kind of scattered, but this is my little slow cooker that I have my chicken in, but I didn't want to just say, oh, and then put some chicken in it. I want you to actually see what it looks like when it comes out of here. So I just take this chicken breast and kind of stir it around with a fork, and it falls apart into chunks. This is what happens when you cook chicken low and slow. Had I put this in, even in a slow cooker, and turned it on high, it would have maintained its shape a little more and not been near as easy to shred apart. So this is why I like putting it in the slow cooker. I left it out in the sunroom and just cooked it low and slow all night. So this is broth that we'll use later on for something else. Not bone broth, because these didn't have bones in them, but good enough broth to where even if I just want to season something, I could use it. Something like rice or something like that. Okay, so without even touching that chicken with my hands, pretty much, I've got it all shredded up. That's easy enough, huh? All right, so here are the tortillas that I made. Here's my towel that I put over them, and that's our stack of tortillas right there. See, they're soft and flexible. They're not hard and crispy. I don't cook them to where they're burnt. That one got a little overcooked on the top, but not so much to where it's not still flexible. So the humidity, the steam that they produce when they get stacked up, that, and the fact that they're just made with really nice ingredients, including the oil. It keeps them nice and soft. I didn't overcook them. Okay, we have our green onions here, and there's really no measurements to this per se as far as technically it has to be this much. It's just however many green onions you like, and I like a lot of green onions. All right. If you have your sauce already made, you can put some in the bottom of it. Mine's still cooling off, so I'm just going to wait and put mine on the top. So here's how we're going to roll. Put your tortilla down. And it really doesn't matter what order you put these in. But we're going to put the chicken, the cheese, as much as you want, and as much green onions as you want. And then you're just going to kind of roll it up like this. Roll it tight, and it'll all fall out. Well, not all, but you're going to put it with the seam side down so it won't come back open. Now, every once in a while you'll have one that pops back open, and that's okay. The only seasoning I have on this chicken is salt. Your welcome to add things like cumin and oregano and garlic and stuff like that if you want to, but I just find that if I don't add those seasonings to it and I wind up not using all the chicken, I certainly don't want it flavored like something for Mexican food if I'm going to use it to make, you know, chicken salad or something like that. So just to be on the safe side. All right, again, kind of push down with your thumb in the center. Fold these and roll them over like that. And then flip it upside down. So we're just going to keep doing this until this is all filled up. I may not use all these tortillas. This makes 12 tortillas, but I use the recipe that I'll put in the description that calls for 3 cups of flour and the cup of water and salt and baking powder and 3 tablespoons of oil. But if you have the recipe, of course, you'll have your tortillas. And there is no rule necessarily about the kind of cheese that you use in this, but I find that Monterey Jack is absolutely my favorite in this. I think I've tried cheddar in it, and cheddar's not bad, but Monterey Jack is just really, really good. It has that little sharp bite to it, and I like that. Now, if you wanted to make these without chicken, if you just want creamy, cheesy enchiladas, leave the chicken out. This is simple, folks. Super simple. Just leave the chicken out. Get back in there, cheese. They try to escape. I think this may only fit about 7 or 8 tortillas in here, which is fine. I might make another pan and just put it in a separate pan and maybe give it to somebody else, take it to somebody. There's always somebody needing food taken to them because they don't feel like cooking right then, whether they're sick or something's going on at their house. Never a shortage of that, especially when you have a big church family. These tortillas are so nice. They're even stretchy, so I feel like I'm stretching them to fold that over, which is nice. I've goofed up so many times making tortillas back when I first started making them, and they'd be so hard. I'd be breaking them when I was trying to fill them with stuff, and it was not a good thing. And then when I stumbled up on this recipe and kind of experimented with it, man, I was so excited because I thought, the possibilities are endless. Of course, I start thinking about filling them with, chocolate and stuff like that once I figured out a way to make them. But for now, we're just going to stick with chicken and stuff. Chicken and cheese. Okay, I think 7's going to be our max for this pan. I think that'll work out fine because this cheese that I have left over, I can always put it on the top once we put the sauce on it. And I have plenty more green onions there too in a big jar. Okay, our last one. Slide it in there. I'll set this aside. Cover those back up so they'll stay nice and soft. And I'm going to add my sour cream to this, but I'll bring it over here so you can see it. The nice thing about making this today and not serving it until tomorrow is this gravy will kind of soak into these flour tortillas and get inside those enchiladas. Oh, it just gives such a good flavor all the way around. Okay, gonna pour this on top. Let's get this over so you can see it better. I have to give credit to the person this recipe came from, my good friend Joan. We affectionately call her Aunt Joni. Shared this recipe with me among several that I have. And she does not consider herself a cook. She is an educator and she is very, very good at what she does. But she's incredibly humble about it, so you would never know that she has several degrees and is very, very smart. People like that just blow me away. I think if I were smart and I had a degree, I'd probably walk around with a sign on my shirt that said, hey, I have a degree, but I don't, so I just kind of let that subject go. All right, let's put our cheese that's left over back on the top. I think you can tell these are going to be cheesy, to say the least. If you don't have one of these flexible cutting mats, these are so handy. If nothing else, just to do this, it keeps from getting as much on the countertop. All right, this half-gallon jar was almost full of green onions when we started that event the other night, but we served, I just had two giant pots, like 20-quart pots of baked potato soup. So we used some, but this is how much was left. And this is kind of what started the idea of making these enchiladas, because I saw those green onions left and thought, what am I going to do with those? Oh, well, I could make some enchiladas. Better film that. I don't think I've made them before. Okay, so here's what our dish looks like right now. And we will, let me turn the camera sideways just so you can get a good look from overhead. We're going to bake these off tomorrow, and I'll show it to you once we serve it up. So anyway, that's what it looks like. Thanks for joining us for this part, but stay tuned. You'll see the final product in just a bit. Thanks.
So this is Tanya's famous microwave enchiladas. Yeah, look at those juicy, hot. Fresh out of the microwave.
Leave Mike's voice in there.
And if I said fresh out of the microwave, I wouldn't be worried about leaving my voice in there.